Hey, welcome to my sanctuary. So, I wanted to do a little video about colds, viruses, and COVID going through this and share my experience with contracting COVID twice in withdrawal and a number of other weird illnesses. Just if you're going through this at the moment and you're just like freaking out, or it just suddenly happens and then you're in a wave and you're like, oh my God, what's going on? So, I was very harmed and I was in a very harmed place and I got COVID. And I remember feeling like my brain was going to explode. I've never experienced that pain in my head. I've noticed that withdrawal symptoms are just, it ramps everything up to like such a severe degree in the body. And the only way that I can really imagine it or picture it in my head is how this harm has done something to our nervous system where it's caused some sort of inflammation in the system or something is sort of warped in the system. So when you get something like a virus, a cold, COVID, it's so sort of accentuated. You know what I mean? It's so like all the symptoms are exaggerated. So like a headache could literally be like a piercing migraine that feels like your brain is going to split in two. And I really felt that. I was very, very sick with COVID twice. And it hit me like a truck. And I'd always forget actually that, like I'd go maybe to London where there's more people and I'd come back, because I'm in Devon at the moment. And I'd come back and all of a sudden I'd be hit with an illness. And I think that that's also another thing. In withdrawal, our immune systems can be very, very delicate, and we're strong, we're still going, the system's still working, but there's something about withdrawal that can weaken our system, and I think we can be more susceptible to illnesses. And I think they just hit us harder, because if you think about the nervous system, and let's say something like a flu or a virus, logically, when I think about it, I'm not a doctor, but it's that thing of anything that's going to affect our nervous systems or create any sort of change is going to create something for us in withdrawal. Whether it just be like a wave of strange symptoms, the sweats, the shivers, headaches. Maybe you have some sort of withdrawal type symptoms coming up for you in the illness, because the illness has sort of shook your nervous system a little bit. Do you know what I mean? So I speak to people who can go through this, and it really depends where you're at. We're all so different, as you know. So there's no timeline on how long a wave can last. Like if you get COVID and you're like, okay, well, how long is this going to take? For me, I mean, once it was a couple of weeks, once it was about a month, 3 weeks to a month of like real recovery. And also afterwards, the kind of like after effects of it a little bit, like just not feeling quite myself, but then going back to normal. And also just to be aware that since COVID, I mean, I don't know if anyone else has observed this, but definitely an observation is that there are other viruses that are similar to COVID, but you would test and it would be negative. So I've really noticed that. I've had a couple of viruses where it's really felt like COVID, and I've done a test and it's not come out as COVID. So, like just weird evolving of COVID virusy stuff. The last time I got sick was when, it was like a couple of months ago, when I changed my brand because I just couldn't find my brand anywhere of mirtazapine. And it was just, I'd got to the end of my sort of stash that I had. And I was like, right, well, I'm going to have to change brand. And on the day that I was expecting to be hit by the brand change, on that day, I got hit by a virus. And I mean, for such strange timing. I think it was a little bit of amalgamation of the two, to be honest. Definitely. But there was 100% an illness and a virus, because then other people got it around me. So it was a thing. There was an illness. So hard though when you're going through withdrawal or tapering and you're like, oh my God, it's the withdrawal. I've done something wrong and I'm going back into a setback, or I'm not going to get better. Anyway, so this virus caused a night of insomnia. I just couldn't sleep, and I really wasn't expecting it. It came out of nowhere, and I was just up. And it's very, very triggering for somebody who has been in withdrawal and who has been an insomniac from the withdrawal. It's incredibly triggering. So, yeah, that night was really scary. I was messaging people at 4 a.m., 3 a.m., 2 a.m., being like, hi, I can't sleep. I think the drugs have done something. Yeah, so it can be really scary and triggering, and that's totally okay if you're there and you're like, I'm freaking out about this because I haven't slept, and then all of a sudden you realize that it's actually a virus and the virus has done something, to your nervous system, and that's what you're experiencing. Because I felt very silly after. And I think it's tricky because friends and family and people around you just don't get this. So, you're there being like, this is withdrawal, this is withdrawal. And then all of a sudden you're like, oh, it's a virus. Whereas for me, I think that moment was definitely an amalgamation of the two, the brand crossover and the virus, because I'm brand sensitive and that has affected me before. So I know that I am. And it also felt so kind of accentuated, like this virus probably for a normal, non-harmed person would have been, like a cold or just a viral thing. Whereas this was like knocked me flat for a week, couldn't get up, couldn't like lift my head because it was like pounding. So yeah, I just wanted to share that because it can be really scary, and this is a long process. So of course we're going to get sick. Of course we're going to pick up things on the way. But I just want to let you know that I speak to people that this happens to, they recover. Of course, we don't know your individual timeline. Like, I wish I could tell you what yours was. But mine has been, like I say, 2 weeks, 3 weeks, 4 weeks. I know some people can trail on for longer, the sort of after effects of an illness in withdrawal. But it's a wave and it will pass. My dog's snoring.